Made it.
Is all right? Good? Not scary.
Yeah.
You sure?
That's scary.
Amy. Yeah. Can you send something? Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to know. It's all of the above, right?
Because there's not a ladder. There's a ladder. Perfect. That's so cool.
You find it works faster? Yeah. Sometimes when I have a chocolate, it takes a while to get it.
Yeah, I do chocolate. So cool.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Don't watch it.
Okay, thank you.
You need to watch out. It's not like your phone's
How would you use that?
What do you mean?
GPS signal lost.
This is Indy. That's Indy. Mama, there's the umpires. See?
Guys, will you do me a favor? I'm going to switch spots with you. Very careful. A couple of you, if you want to move down just a couple more steps so we can get everybody here. But do be careful. Obviously, we have a drop-off in front of us. Some of you guys have a drop-off.
GPS signal restored.
Where you're standing at all times here. This is the south half of Balcony House, and sometimes referred to as a Kiva courtyard. And so there are a few things that archaeologists notice immediately when they start to just look around here. And I would imagine you have noticed these as well. So I want to point a couple of those things out. Then I do have a question that I will make sure to answer about the difference in the craftsmanship that you can notice as you look at the walls here. We'll talk about that. This is a kiva right here, right? We mentioned that. An underground room. A couple things you need to remember, though, that 800 years ago, if you lived here, your kiva would have had a roof on top of it. right? A nice flat roof. And if you notice the 6 stone columns here, the roof would begin at that level and extend up to where our feet are. So that kiva roof would be nice and flat. Both kivas would have roofs, which means that now we have created another very large courtyard space that would be usable space. And an entrance into the kiva would be through an opening in the roof. And we would climb down a ladder and we would come back out the very same way. So try to imagine that. And then, of course, the kiva thought to be a room used for ceremonies, right? A place to practice your particular beliefs, right? So this is an important space within this community. But it's thought, again, that each extended family had their own kiva. So 2 families here based on the 2 kivas. Again, one of the ways that archaeologists try to understand how many people were living here. So the 2 kivas are here very, very important. Now, what do you guys notice on the walls in the back of the alcove and above you? Lots of soot staining, you bet. So the really, really dark black. Now that's the soot staining from their fire.
I think the alcove is far back too.
Oh, tremendous in the back of the alcove, isn't it? And when archaeologists see evidence of fire, again, they think about domestic activities, right? This is a place someone's cooking, or this is a place someone's sleeping. They're warming up this space. So that's an important way to understand how they're using rooms, right? A living space versus a storage space, things like that. So they're going to look for that evidence of fire to help them understand that. And we see most of the evidence of fire here at Balcony House on this south half. Not the north half where we just were. There's some over there, but most of it is over here. So again, it helps archaeologists understand how they're using their spaces. And then some of you may have noticed in the very back of the alcove, that is a wet patch of earth, and that's where that other sea spring is located. So the water source is so very, very close. Such a precious resource, of course, back there, the sea spring. So these are all things that archaeologists look at and, again, help them start to answer some of these questions. Now, with respect to craftsmanship, and I think that's a really cool question. I forgot who asked that. Somebody, who asked that just a minute ago? You said. So you definitely look around and you're going to see some walls that are pristine and then some walls that you're thinking, whoa, what happened here, right? And archaeologists will look at this in 2 different ways. One is that you may just simply have 2 families living side by side, and one family has a master mason and the other family does not, right? And they're doing the best they can, and they're building their home. It looks okay. It doesn't look as good as the guy who's the master mason, but maybe we see the differences amongst just simply the families building. Or the other thing too that they understand is that we are also looking at generational differences, right? And in particular, that first courtyard of Balcony House, because there's so much original wood, archaeologists use the wood to date the site. It's called dendrochronology, so they can get a really specific understanding of when certain areas were built. So that beautiful set of rooms over there with the red plaster finish date to the 1240s. And then the 2 rooms right next to those that are pretty good, honestly, but they're not maybe quite as good. They date to the 1270s, later in time. So maybe we can also attribute these differences to different generations that are building within the alcoves. And then that might lead us to bigger questions as well. Maybe there's something that's going on in the 1270s, and people have to focus on that more. And so maybe their homes won't look quite as pristine as in previous generations because they're really worried about getting enough water for their families, growing enough food, things like that. And so archaeologists really try to tie a lot of these things together, see if they can answer some of these larger questions. Why did the Pueblo people leave after living here for at least 750 years? And it's not just like the people of Mesa Verde left. All of the people who lived in the northern Four Corners area here, they left. They moved south, as we talked about where their descendants are today. Why did they move away? What do you guys think? Drought? Maybe drought. And using the data that they get from these trees, they understand that there was, in fact, a fairly significant drought at the end of the 1200s. And this drought was 23 years long. It started in 1276, and it lasted until about 1299. Can you imagine how devastating that would be to an agricultural community? Why else might you move away? Any thoughts?
Get tired of crawling around in the rocks.
Maybe you just get tired of where you're living. This is not the easiest place to make your home. Maybe we want something a little bit more level. Maybe something that's not quite as severe, perhaps. What do you think?
Conflict.
Conflict. maybe conflict. And we were talking about maybe that idea that perhaps you are not the only people who live here, right? And what happens in the 1200s, and archaeologists are really trying to answer this question because it's a lot of people moving away, is that the environmental conditions degrade very significantly in the 1200s. And not only do you experience that drought at the end of the 1200s, but the temperatures become cooler during that century. And archaeologists think that's significant because as a farmer, you need a certain length of growing season to grow corn and beans and squash. And they believe that during the 1200s, they didn't have a long enough growing season. So that was becoming a problem. They didn't have enough food and, of course, not enough water as well. So the conditions are not great here. But further to the west, the conditions are not good either. And archaeologists wonder if people start to move from those areas into these areas, which, of course, will put pressure on the people who are already here. And so maybe that does cause conflict. So maybe it's not only conflict with other people, it might even be internal conflict because, you know, we used to be neighbors, but now we're competing over the same spring. Right? And so archaeologists wonder if conflict plays into that as well. So there are a lot of different ideas that archaeologists have to explain the movement of perhaps upwards of 40,000 people away from this area, and then they will head south to other areas. But maybe it's environmental conditions coupled with social stresses, coupled with religion as well, and all of these things will cause people to move away. Stay tuned. Come back. This is one of those questions that's very much actively being researched, so we may have more information that we can share with you in the future. But those are ideas that researchers have about that all-important question, why did they move away from places like this? Oh, what do you have? I like that. Great observation. So you guys, when you come across here, and please be very careful, as you can see it's quite narrow, take a look inside of the room right here. And you will see original, I'll call it a painting because that's really what it is, in that you'll see red plaster, above it is white plaster, and you should notice red triangles against that white background, and that is original, of course. And so we talk about images and petroglyphs and pictographs. You certainly find them here, but it tells us that not only did they take the time to build their homes in a really beautiful way, but then they decorated them extensively as well. Yes, ma'am?
They would need precious water to make the mortar and plaster, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So
Think about how much water you use to build a place like Balcony House, with all the mortar that you see there. And this is not even one of the larger alcove sites here. So water is such an important resource out here. It tells us that they certainly had water, but they may have used their water in very different ways to how we use water today. Well, you guys, I want to thank you so much for coming to Balcony House.
Push me.
GPS signal lost.
First now. Mom, do I get to go first now?
Gleichzeitig da rausgehen. Ja, det håller ni med. Det var ett lätt. Make sure you're not going to fall. Are you okay?
Look, there's a tree. There's like this really fat tree.